Hey everyone, welcome to the Clover FPV Systems YouTube channel. Free your VTX, FPV everything.
Yo, hi!
Welcome to our first series of build videos featuring our flagship line, the Lucky, the Shamrock, and the ShamCam. A couple quick notes that will apply to all of our frames. The high quality carbon fiber plates used in the frames are cut right here in Minnesota at Unger CNC. For all of the frames that we see here in the first line, the battery is intended to be mounted toilet tank. The reason being that it shifts weight off of the center line. The frames are on the heavy side because they're designed for bashing first and foremost. Taking this into consideration, I recommend setting up your builds for 6S if you intend to run a GoPro. Okay, you guys, what we have right in front of me here is the Clover cage, the world's first highly modular, quick swapping, hard mounting VTX cage with a couple of its 3D printable options. If you're interested in all of the options for it, be sure to check Clover FPV Systems website, where you'll find everything that you need to adapt and 3D print your own mounts for all of your devices. I'm just going to leave the models for the O3 air unit, the Caddy's top plate, bottom plate, 20mm standoffs, and 8 10mm screws. You'll also notice what I have in front of me, a 2mm hex driver and thread locker. I highly recommend using thread locker on at least all of your bottom plate screws. First things first, we're going to grab one of the 10mm screws and put it up through one of the 4 standoff holes. Take a standoff, put it in place. And we're going to do that for all 4 of them. And your bottom is assembled. Now we can take the 3D print for the O3 air unit and fit it in over the standoffs. Our bottom plate is finished, but we are ready for the top plate. If you're using the O3 air unit will be tucked safely in there. You can install your removable antenna mount into the antenna slot in the back of the top plate, and we're ready to put our top plate screws in. I don't normally use Loctite on top plate screws. You can if you want. All right, you guys, that's how you assemble a Clover cage. You'll see that there are 2 holes near the front and 2 holes near the back. Those will be for your mounting screws. If you're building your Clover cage for an FPV drone, we'll cut to whichever drone you're building next. If you're building it for a surface vehicle, then we'll cut to a tutorial on how to use the external mounting system. Whatever you're using, we'll see you over there. All right, you guys, I have in front of me everything that you're going to need to build a Clover FPV Systems ShamCam. This is a really fun and simple build. Let's get right into it. First thing that we're going to want to do is flip our ducts over and then get our hardware kit. The hardware kit comes complete with 2 M3 press nuts for the front mounting holes for the Clover cage, 2 M3 hex nuts for the back mounting points for the Clover cage, 4 25mm standoff screws, 14 10mm M3 for the standoffs and the ducts, and 4 25mm M3 standoffs. Let's start by inserting the captive M3 nuts into the bottom of the mounting plate portion of the ducts. And then we are going to install the press nuts into the bottom plate of the ShamCam. One thing that's unique about the ShamCam is that it is a unibody. So unlike the other frames in the line, there is no top, there is no bottom. I'm going to place the press nuts into this side of the frame, and using one of my 10mm screws, I'm gonna thread into the bottom and screw down until that press nut is bound into the frame. You do not want to over tighten these, because if you go Hercules on them, then you'll shred the carbon that the press nut is biting into. And they're plenty strong as a mounting point without doing that. So again, thread through until you get some resistance, and then when you back out, the press nut should remain where you put it. Now that makes this the bottom. Let's flip over to the top. We're gonna start taking our 10mm M3s and installing our standoffs. With anything that's going through the bottom, I highly suggest using a thread locker. So we press that hardware through the bottom and then just twist our standoffs down on top. Now everything will be accessible on this build except for just those two little hex nuts in the mounting plate. So there's no huge worry about getting these tight as tight off the rip. The front standoffs go in the holes that are next to the clover that's cut into the bottom plate. One last standoff. Next, we can install our ducts. Make sure that you remember to install your inset M3s, and then the ducts on either side just push down over the standoffs. We'll take one additional 10mm and thread this directly into the TPU print in the front. The reason there's no standoff in front here is because standoff tends to restrict the motion, and so now this allows the ducts to swing back into place if they ever become misshapen. We'll do the same process for this side. In the front, the 3D print interfaces with that little X, and then again, this just threads into the TPU in the front. Now we can install our spacers. Now is a good time to install your stack hardware. Just take the 2 M3 off of each of these, and then I'm going to be building a 20x20 stack into this. It's compatible with 30x30 and 25.5 by 25.5 all-in-one stacks. We've got our stack hardware in. We're going to take our metal nylon nut. I suggest using thread locker on these, and one by one, we're going to thread these all the way to the bottom. And this is just to hold your stack hardware in place and give you a little bit of a spacer off of your bottom plate. Gotta let that weave breathe. Now we can take our nylon nuts and put them on the end. These are to secure your stack into place. And now we're ready to install the top plate. You will notice about the ShamCam top plate that it looks a lot like the Shamrock top plate, but it has extra holes in it. Those are to stabilize the ducts. I don't normally use Loctite on my top plate screws. Now that we have the 4 screws in the standoffs, we add the 4 screws that just thread directly into these TPU prints to keep them in place. If you're wondering why we use spacers, it's because these ducts print the easiest when they're laid like this, and the spacers would make it necessary to have supports on that whole surface. By printing them separate, we save ourselves from having to print all those supports. Now you can add your RX antenna holder, and you have built a Clover FPV Systems ShamCam. If you want to install a Clover cage, you use the included screws. Hopefully you have your Clover cage assembled with its hardware in, and you just take it off of whatever device you had it on before. In my case, it is the Shamrock 3.5-inch basher. Back out the 4 mounting screws. Pop it off, be sure not to pull any of your cables, and then place the screw heads in the bottom plate in the screw head recesses after you connect your cables, and then you can get to the rear 2 screws through the slot in the top plate. Tighten those down. You don't have to tighten them down too much. We just need them threaded into the hex nuts embedded in the bottom plate. If you start to torque on them, those screws are just going to start spinning. That's all right, because we just need them to hold on to the plastic that's in between. It's the front here where we're screwing into carbon and metal that you get your hard mounting solution. You're ready to make amazing videos and you're ready to have cinematic adventures. This thing flies super good. I'm super happy with it. Be sure to check online for all of the 3D prints that you need to add a GoPro to the top plate, if that's what you want to use. Thanks so much for watching. Hey everyone, Clover FPV Systems is on a mission to grow. I want to take this project worldwide, and to do that, I could use your support. The best way to do that is to go over to cloverfpvsystems.com and make a purchase. The easiest way to do that is to subscribe, like, and comment on this video. And if you'd like early access and ad-free versions of all of our videos, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, merch, and more, please head over to our Patreon. And remember, the cure for bad luck isn't good luck, it's perseverance. Stay bashing. I'll be here in the next video.